was getting late, you know, and I was just waiting. You know, we were waiting and waiting. We did a lot of waiting that night. So by the time we got to the pro mods, it was probably 9 o'clock, 10 after 9. My window was covered with a towel at that point because it started getting a little dewy out. Which I don't, you know, I don't like the dewy stuff because it seems like the track is starting to get wet. You know, and then you look, you know, I kind of looked at it, looked down the track, I was okay. And then when I got up to start finish line, I took the towels off, and there was really no condensation on my window. So that made me feel a little bit better. And I looked down the track, and the track looked to be fine at that point. So I'm like, all right, it's the third pass. You know, I really wanted to go 599. The second shot I thought would have been the better shot. You know, so I figured I'd give the third shot a hit. You know, see if the car went straight and it got off the line. You know, it was a possibility. I don't know if it was going to do it. You know, but 607 was okay. But I was trying to better my 607. So you know, as a drag racer and as a competitive person, that's what you do. You try to go out there and beat your best time. So that's what I did. You know, car left fine. I pulled up, car left fine.
I thought it was on a pretty good pass.
Yeah, it started to go. It started to, you know, when it left the line, it was fine. Like I said, it started to move left on me. Which you know, at night it's hard to see. You know what I mean? So you don't know if the car is really moving left on you until you get. And what happened with me is, since I had laser surgery on one of my eyes, I don't have my vision. See you later. Isn't the greatest. So I didn't really realize that I was getting close to the center line until I saw it. And when I saw it, I made a tendency to, you know, I had a tendency to kind of just pull the car back a little bit. I saw the cone, I saw the start-finish line, and I didn't want that yellow cone stuff all over my car, so I decided to pull it back a little bit. And when I did that, the car happened to be out of the groove. One tire was in, one tire was out, and that's when it caught. One tire caught right and just tore me right. You know, just made a hard right. There was nothing you could do at that point. You know, you don't know it's coming. You know, Monday morning, being you know, thinking about it now, I probably should have thrown the chutes at 700-800 feet and said, you know, just leave it at that. Leave it at 607. Well, we race tomorrow. But like I said, you know, I went out there to try and do what I could, and you know, I just didn't think that you know, that little movement to the right was going to do that. You know, the car was going to make that on my right. I mean, you never do. Nobody was.
How fast you go?
I hit it at 215.
Wow, that's scary.
I hit it at 215. So I mean, the car was still. But it was still a 650, you know, it was still a 215 mile, 620 pass. You know what I mean? And the car was moving around all over the place. So for everybody watching, you know what I mean? Because you don't know. And you know, me as being in the car and never losing consciousness, which is another thing. You know, I never lost consciousness in that car, so I saw what happened the whole way. And when the car went right like that, I knew that when it jerked me right, I knew the car we were gonna hit something. So, you know, when it went to the right, I was basically just held, and the last thing I remember seeing was the hood of the car going past my windshield. You know what I mean? I felt the hit. But when I remember white going up across the you know, right up across the windshield, so I guess it hit the wall and sent the hood flying over my head. That was my initial reaction to the whole thing. I just kind of held the steering wheel and just waited to see what was going to happen, because there's nothing you can do. I threw the parachute. The last thing I remember was seeing the cone, throwing the chutes, and knew that something was going to, that I was going to hit something. And I knew I had a problem because when I was sitting in the car, you know, my back was burning real bad. I felt almost like somebody sticking two knives in you from the back. That's what it feels like. And I knew I broke my back. I just didn't know to what extent. You know, so now I'm sitting in the car. These guys come running over. I remember the guy come running over on one side and doing something with the fire extinguisher. You know, the car did flame up for a second, but it went right out. So they didn't spray it. So that was on the right hand side. The left hand side, another guy came over, looked in the window, asked me if I was okay. I told him I thought I was. I said, yeah, I think so. And they started getting the door open, trying to get my helmet off, and couldn't get my helmet off at first. They couldn't get my Hans device off because I didn't want to move. You know, I told them at that point that I was hurt, and every time I moved, it's gonna have to wait. You could pick it up and tell him. Ask me if he's available at 4:30. My daughter needs a ride support. Like I said, when I got to initially, like I said, you know, after I stopped, you know, I knew because Steve, you gotta go there. I knew that I was hurt because you could feel it. So I asked them not to move anything. I said because my back hurts bad. So they said, all right, listen, there's some, he thinks it's his back. They said, can you move any of your extremities? I said, I can move my upper body. I said, but I can't move my right leg. That was initially what the problem was, the right leg. I said, so I got a real bad burning sensation. I said, and I can't. So he reached inside the car and he was kind of like poking as I was trying to get the helmet, got the helmet off and couldn't get the Hans device off. Finally, I said, hold on, you hurt? Just let me do this. So I took it off myself, gave it to him, and then I was just kind of sitting frozen in the seat because every time you breathe, I couldn't breathe. Every time I tried to take a breath, the pain that shoots through your back when you're trying to breathe, like anybody who's ever had broken ribs will tell you, you know what it feels like to try and breathe. Well, mine was the opposite because my back was broken, and you know you're tied in those belts so tight. I was trying to get the belts off that I couldn't. I was taking real short breaths because every time I tried to go like this, the pain was just amazing. You know, when I tell you pain, it's pain that you never want to feel. And every time I got that pain, I was like, man.
Scared.
So he said, all right, I just want to see if how you and he was reaching in my legs and poking them with one of the, I guess, a tool that he had in his hand. And I, you know, can you move this leg? And I said, no. He goes, do you feel that? I go, no. And that was my right leg and left leg that he initially was poking at. So I said, I don't feel anything kind of from my waist down right now. So he said, all right. So he told the other safety guys that he was with that I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. And he said, all right, listen, you're not going to move. Don't move. He said, because we're going to try and get you out of this car. So they started, you know, consulting each other on how they were going to do it. The only thing that they could come up with was the right thing to do. I was finally talking to one of my guys from Montana Brothers. I think it was Chris. I think it was Nick. It was Chris initially. He said, I built the car. I remember somebody saying, I built the car. You're going to have to cut the top off to get them out. Because they were trying to cut all different bars in that car. They couldn't cut anything. With those jaws of life and stuff, I'm like, you guys are wasting your time. You're just not going to be able to do it.
The car was built safely.
The car was built. The car saved my life. Yeah. You know, that car, and being in any other thing, and I swear by Montana Brothers car, I would have gotten killed or been hurt a lot worse if I wasn't in that car. I can tell you that from experience.